Look at that.
Oh, we're live.
We're live. We've mastered technology at this point. It's 2026. We're moving along. Here's the crazy part about 2026, right? We're 5 to 6 years past this 3% interest rate world. And maybe some things have changed. You know, in my case, I've gone from a 3-person family to a 5-person family. Nick, you've gone to a 4-person family. Adam, you got a 5-person family.
Well, the dog, the blind dog.
Yeah, you got the dog. You got those other kids you don't never talk about either, but we don't worry about that. But blind dogs, they require some accommodations and some care there. But other things, in these 5 to 6 years since the 3% or 2.5% interest rate market, other things have changed too, right? There's no more $5 footlongs. If you go to Jimmy John's with the family of 4 or 5, it's $50. You go to Chipotle, it's $50. Everything's $50.
Unless you go to Costco, they kept it the same.
Yeah, only the hot dog.
Everything else goes up.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Hey, keep paying the $1.50 for a hot dog, but as long as you leave here with a sleigh that will cost $2,000, you're all good.
No, but you're right. Everything's gone up, and it's just a different world. But people have these. They're like, it feels like they're married to these 2.73% rates, right? Is that where we're going with this?
That is where we're heading, sir. So yeah, I feel like people are married to that. They've made financial decisions for that, and maybe they're sacrificing something that can't be easily quantified on a spreadsheet or that line item in your brain that says, this is the most amount of money I'm going to borrow. I need to borrow at the lowest rate. And Nick, you actually, before we hopped on, you had made a quote that the people that you've dealt with in the last 2 to 3 years that have made the decision to upgrade their living situation, whether that be actually a downsize or an upsize, whatever that is.
Yep.
Your anecdote was that nobody's ever said that they've regretted it.
Right. That's a big thing nowadays. People, the 2.5%, 3% interest rates, I hear it all the time when people are getting back home shopping again, and people shop for other reasons rather than rates. They shop because they have to upgrade, downgrade, whatever it might be. And that's the main reason why people buy homes. But, I hear it all the time everywhere I go. Oh man, I can't believe I'm going to give up this 2.5 or this 3% interest rate, whatever I have. And, go to the current rates, whatever they are now. But the main thing there is, we've done a lot of that because life happens. You got to make moves, whatever it might be, jobs, financial situations, upgrade or upscale, downsize the home or whatever it may be. I never hear anybody afterwards say they regret doing it. And I think that's the main thing to keep important and kind of where you're going with this today.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. And we've had clients that have, sometimes they need to be in single floor living and all of this other things. And, another situation, about timing the market or hoping that those come back. We're going to need a catastrophic economic event again for that to happen. I don't really see that going on. Honestly, if we look at the Fed futures market, Adam, you and I have talked about this. We don't really see, the Fed funds rate coming down. We actually might see it come up, move up between October and December of this year. But it presents opportunities if you are liquid or are able to become liquid quickly. And you guys both have kids. Would you divorce a 3% interest rate to have your kid in the right school district? Can you, instead of counting on the interest rate or the dollars of interest you paid, how about the amount of sleep that you get?
Yeah, and there's way more to the equation. I mean, you look at some people, maybe they got a bunch of credit card debt, but you got some equity built up in the house. There's situations where staying inside of that 3% rate actually hurts your quality of life. And people have to zoom out, take account of all of the factors that go into that instead of just being so married to that rate, because it's not everything. It's actually not even most of it.
No, really not. That's a good point about, most people, this was what, 5-6 years ago now, Tony. So, most people at that point in time have actually probably built up some pretty decent equity in the home because of the housing market and how much it's went up during that time still, so it's there's a lot of factors that go into it, like Adam touched on. It's not just the rate. Some people kind of get a little hell bent on that, until you kind of coach them through it and what actually, they need to do.
So you guys are saying that paying higher interest rate might actually make more sense to your peace of mind.
Depends on everyone's situation, but it very well could be. And
Yeah,
I've seen it happen.
Adam, we've talked about this ad nauseum here on about insurance costs too. Like, the upgrade maybe into a home that is fully updated and doesn't have deferred maintenance likely reduces your insurance costs as well, right? So maybe there's other savings there.
Yeah, there's always going to be that, or maybe you get into a better tax situation. But yeah, newer homes, the one of the biggest driving factors of premium is year built. So if you're getting into a new house at a higher rate, maybe it offsets because the insurance premium is half. So it's just, you just gotta, it always comes back to this. It's always get good advice, think it through, talk to people who've been doing it. And maybe what you first thought, your first instinct isn't correct. You just have to be willing to open up your brain a little bit.
So Nick, if I'm planning on, departing a residence and making this decision, does it make sense to rent? Is there a formula for determining it? Should I keep this house as a rental, or should I, flush it, take the cash, maybe shore up some debts and move on? You tell me, like, do you go through a checklist when you're sitting down at someone's kitchen table and talking about selling their house?
100%. And, and every situation is different, right? So I kind of generically speak, or, about the whole thing, but, I get that a lot when I'm sitting down with people, should I rent this house? I think a lot of people, maybe they see stuff online or whatever. They're not maybe seasoned landlords, whatever it might be. Should I just rent this house and keep it and let someone else pay for it? It's good in theory, but, Tony, as well as I know, Adam, I'm sure you do as well. How many people go into that home that you rent out, and, if you're not seasoned, maybe you're not checking the right background stuff. Even if they clear on that, are they going to take care of your home? Or are you going to end up going in that home and doing more work to it anyway? It's easier for you to offload it, take the proceeds that you have and put them to something else, have them, invest them, new home, whatever it might be. So like I said, every situation is different. Generally speaking, though, a lot of times it's better just to, unload the property and move on from it.
That I think more often than not, people get roped into the idea of, like, seeing stuff on Instagram about, I'm going to rent this house. They don't think about the actual time that it takes to be a landlord, the cost of it, the risk of a bad tenant or a tenant that flips on you, and the cost there. So of the essence of capital is the oxygen for financial freedom. So Adam, you're talking about fireworks, things that go light on fire and go boom, right? So if we have some capital, we can maybe buy ourselves some financial freedom, whether that's shoring up some bad debts that we took on. We need to furnish that house at that 3% interest rate at one point. But I want to go back to Nick's point about that no one's regretted it. Adam, you work with lots of people transacting and trading houses too. If you had to list the amount of people that have regretted pulling the decision on trading up in lifestyle or upgrading lifestyle with an increased interest rate, less than 10% people of a complaint factor there.
No complaints. Yeah. And on the side of investment properties, I mean, once you get into them, you start to realize that what you really have is a decaying asset, and you have to put energy and time into that asset for it to appreciate. So, I just think people should start looking at the big picture. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. That's a good point. Understanding what that actually is, renting out a home or being a landlord, isn't just, okay, I'm going to go there, they're going to pay my mortgage, and I'm going to pay this thing down free, maybe make a little money on top of it. There's much more involved in that. And that's kind of the things we like to touch on with people.
All right. So my last question on Adam, on as far as like rental properties go, insurance, right? You have a rental policy or a landlord coverage that likely protects against rent loss and some other things. But, is that something where you probably want to carry an umbrella policy as well, because you're exposing yourself to other risks beyond just the risk to the actual dwelling?
Yeah, people need to start thinking about that more, because anybody can sue anybody for anything. And whether it's real or not, I mean, we have them every day. We have people that mailman that trips on your sidewalk. We've got dog bites. We've got, you name it. But it doesn't matter if it's real or not. The real cost is in defense, and you have to defend yourself. So, you really need to make sure that your liability protection is equal to your net worth. And that's most cost effectively done through an umbrella policy, just like you talked about.
All right, that's another hidden cost. We've talked about some hidden costs and on a couple different episodes here about rental properties and that situation. Umbrella policy worth it entirely, not even with the rental property, but if you're factoring in that, like Nick said, that cash flow about am I going to make a couple bucks on this property or not, properly insuring yourself so that you don't lose all of your bucks is another cost to factor in, right?
Yeah, I mean, imagine this. So Nick's driving down the road. It's wet out. It's snowy. You slide. It's not your fault, but you hurt somebody. They find out who you are and what you're worth. It's not that hard to figure out these days. And you get a letter in the mail. It says, "Hey, Nick, you're being sued for 1.5 million, but your limit's 300,000. So we recommend that you retain your own personal counsel for the excess." Like those are the letters people get, and I'm not sure how well they sleep at night if they just didn't spend the 20 bucks on an umbrella. But that's how it plays out. It's pretty scary.
All right. Nick, any other parting thoughts here on people making the decision maybe to dump their 3%? What was it? Marry the house and date the rate, and maybe it's maybe we're divorcing the house and all of it right now.
It could be, I think the main thing, at the end of the day is people move because they have to move, and like I said, I have this conversation often because of how different that rate is now compared to what it was. Like I said, nobody's ever called me and regretted the situation. Most people move because they have to, and when they get in their living situation, it's always better because, like you said, schools, surrounding, town or work, whatever it might be, so no one's ever regretted actually doing that. I think it's hard for people when they have it just to see it, or maybe it's just their own kind of, mind playing tricks on them and why they don't want to do it because they don't want to move forward. But that's the main thing. No one's ever regretted it.
My mind's playing tricks on me. All right. Anything else? Nick, how do we get in touch with you?
All social media is Realtor Nick Oosting, 630-284-9624.
Adam is myagent.com. That's still
works.
You get me with the plywithjr.com. Until next Wednesday, we're out unless you guys got anything else.
That's it.
Peace.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.
I'm done. Cut the show.